Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, baseball fans. Welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Show. This is Carl. I am with
Chris Castellani.
We are in
Chicago, Illinois, my friend.
Yes, we are. We are in studio together. These are rare shows. These are great shows. This is Barstool Baseball. This is Friday. This is the American League show.
Indeed it is. And a lot of American League storylines right now. A heavy amount of them injury-related, sadly, but some intrigue nonetheless.
League stories, big stories. I will immediately refer people, though, baseball fans generally. This is not an American League guy. Ellie De La Cruz made his debut, and Clemmer and I went off about the Reds on Wednesday. So National League fans, if you're looking for stuff, or why aren't we talking about the Reds in that story, that was on Wednesday. There's a bunch of shit going on in the American League. That's what Fridays are dedicated for. And probably our lead internal story. Did you think we fucked the Yankees on Monday?
It's possible. It's possible. The evidence is definitely there.
Yeah. I'm referring to our power rankings. We had the Yankees at 8th. That feels bad in hindsight.
In hindsight, yes. Now, we got a lot of blowback for Orioles at 7 as well. And it's like, well, okay, what you going to do? I guess, you know what I think everyone took umbrage with is the Diamondbacks being so high. I think that's what did us. And I think us having them, we had them originally at 4, and then Clemmer talked us down to 5. I think that's what annoys people because the Yankees, and also
I got cocky with them.
Well, but also too, I was big on them too. I still am. I would also say to the fans out there, that was before they beat the Dodgers in that second game, or to get their second win in that 3-game set. We recorded that on Sunday afternoon. They played the Dodgers on Sunday Night Baseball. Domingo Germán pitched great, so there's a little leeway there. But yeah, I guess my explanation though is the same. I'm gonna be more inclined to have them maybe lower down on the list until I see evidence that okay, this team is giving me those 2009 vibes or those early 2000s vibes.
There's only so many spots.
Right. There's a lot of good teams.
And there's so many good teams that are underperforming right now.
Right.
I put a list together of 7 or 8 teams I thought for sure are good enough to play in a DS Game 5.
Easily, yeah. I
mean, the Mariners and the Padres and the Cardinals and the Mets and the Phillies. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, you go down this list and it's wait a second. Those teams don't even come up on a power ranking show when we sit around and bullshit about it. So that said, I kind of dropped the ball a little bit here. I told Hubs, I was like, we're going to stream. We're going to bring you in to the show because I want to get your take on this. I forgot we would be in studio. I also forgot the Yak is after this.
It's a busy day here in Chicago.
I'm not fucking with the streaming capabilities out of the studio.
Yeah, for sure.
I am, however, going to put that dude on speakerphone right now.
Have at it. Let's do it. Okay. This is old school Barstool stuff.
This is Hub's first appearance on Barstool Baseball since getting engaged. Ooh. Congratulations on the engagement.
Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you.
We're pumped, dude.
The right week to do it because if I did it this week, everyone would be inhaled with smoke. So
good point.
We wanted to. I can't believe I'm about to do this. We wanted to. I want to apologize. I do. I don't know if Chris does.
Let's get it to the end of this segment, and then I'll make my decision.
Okay, I'll be upfront. I owe you and Yankees fans, even the scumbags. I owe all of you an apology. There's no way you guys should have been 8th.
If you wanted to put us at 7, and just keep it status quo, fine. Even though I disagree with that probably, but to move them down after they win 2 series in the West was just what are we doing? So
it was
that got my attention.
It was before. Sorry, hey, what's up, Hubs? It was before the last game against Los Angeles. So it was before.
Well, still, they played well on Saturday. Friday was a disaster, sure, but they went into Seattle against a very good pitching staff, put up 10 runs in 2 games against them. I don't know. I feel like they just didn't deserve to move down.
Well, you know what? But in hindsight, though, no, I don't apologize. Because, Carl, is this a top 10 team without Aaron Judge?
Well, Aaron Judge wasn't hurt then.
He wasn't hurt at the point.
Right. Fair,
I thought it was Nestor Cortez. Nestor Cortez getting hurt was the big.
Yeah, that's true. We knew, he was injured. We didn't know it was IL. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nestor Cortez.
At the time, we didn't know he was going to be out for probably a month or so.
Nestor Cortez being hurt I think Clemmer brought that up.
There's been something going on with him all year, so I'm kind of hoping that whatever they got him on the IL for, they're calling shoulder, hopefully that fixes whatever, because he just hasn't been the same. So, get it figured out now, in the first half and then get him good to go for the second half. That's how I'm looking at that.
Okay. Do you accept my apology?
Yeah, of course, Carl.
All right. We're going to have a blast next power ranking show. We're going to make sure that we do you guys justice. We don't do a ton of personal stuff, but quickly, how was the engagement?
Engagement, great. Everything went actually to plan. And there was no fire, no smoke fire. So, which is invaded here now. I can't imagine if we were doing it this week, how disaster it would have been and how I would have pivoted. But yeah, everything went really good. She was surprised, stunned. Her family was there, flew in from California. We had a great time and celebrated after. It was all good.
I made a huge mistake. I should have said we had Hubs on speakerphone because the smoke fire fucked with the stream. And
we had an opportunity right there for content.
Apocalypse in New York City.
It looks like Blade Runner 2049 right now in New York
I don't
City.
know. They're supposed to play 2 games today, not just 1, 2. I don't know if they're going to play any. It seems a little better, but I don't know. I'm not a air quality specialist, so.
We're going to talk about Manoah. Can you lead us into Manoah? We're going to hang up, but I want you to lead us into Manoah because he's trash and you predicted this.
You're going to hang up the phone?
Yeah, we have to get going.
Okay. Oh, so you're going to start into Manoah. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting in. We're going to get into Manoah, but I want you are like the you own the take. Like Hubs owns the bar, has rights to the Barstool take. That Manoah would struggle against the pitch clock.
He's the OG Alek Manoah truther.
Yeah, like you, you had it first.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, we were talking about predictions for the season, and his name came up, and he was a great pitcher last year, and he was good his rookie season as well. And then it came to my mind, I was like, you know what, maybe being a bigger guy is going to be tough with the pitch clock. I never in a million years thought we'd see him get sent down to the rookie league so they can have their pitch lab analyze every single thing about him because it's gotten so bad. But my God, that Astro start was horrific. He's lost all his ability to pitch, whether it be, and I don't think it's all pitch clock. I think the pitch clock has filtered into his mechanics, his mental game. It's just all diminished everything. His slider has become one of the worst pitches in baseball. His fastball, you just can't locate it all. And then when he has to throw a strike, it's right down the middle, just tee off on. He's a disaster right now, and the Blue Jays can't even really afford to send him down because they don't have any, knight in shining armor to come up here, to replace him. So they're just a terrible spot, but they had no choice. That's how bad it is they didn't have an option to send him down, and they still sent him down. So does this fix him? Does he come back this year a different guy? I don't know, but they had legitimately no other option but to send him down right now. So it's crazy to see. People are saying I'm right, and they don't like to say I'm right. So it's a little fun. I'll say that.
Yeah. Hey, things are good for you right now. Congratulations, brother. And obviously best wishes to the future misses. Next time we're in studio, hopefully we got to do this all together. We appreciate you jumping on speakerphone.
For sure. Big Yankees week. White Sox, if they ever play these games, and the Red Sox this week for the first time. So we'll have a lot to talk about on Sunday.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you Sunday live. Sounds good.
All
right, later. Fucking. Before we get into any of those,
he woke up ready to record.
I feel very bad about this because he's professional too. I wanted to say before we get into the takes about that, I do very much like talking baseball and working with Hubs because he's so fucking serious about doing a good job and serious about baseball. So it's easy I do feel bad, but I know if you call him on speakerphone, he's going to do.
For sure. And some interesting stuff that kind of led us into the Manoah discussion because I was trying to, whenever there's a pitcher who, this is a historical drop-off. He was a top 10 pitcher in the sport last year, and now he's in the rookie league. I was trying to look into exactly what it is that's been the reason for his failures. And it is bizarre, Carl, to say this, and it's such a simplistic answer. The answer legitimately is everything. None of his pitches have been that effective outside of his two-seamer. The number one issue, he's not throwing strikes at all. His walk rate is insanely high. He's not getting ahead in counts. I also want to say, I know they had Robbie Ray win the Cy Young a few years ago, right? And Gosman's an ace. I have my questions about the pitching lab in Toronto because when I looked at some of Manoah's pitch data, if we're just talking the fastball that he throws, right? If we're talking runs above average with his four-seam fastball, last year was 14.5. This year already, negative 7.4. He has one plus pitch, one plus fastball. It's a sinker, which is 5 runs above average. So to me, the repertoire in terms of the percentage of times he throws those pitches hasn't changed much. So if I'm looking at that and I'm saying, hey, you have 1+ pitch, I'm going back to that sinker more often. I think that there might be some disconnect there. I know the pitch clock has something to do with this. Mm-hmm. He's a momentum-based guy. But Justin Verlander had a very interesting interview about this recently where he said, when I went to Houston, they said, hey, man, your 4-seam fastball, it's elite. Throw it all the time. You can get ahead with it. You can strike guys out with it. Your 2-seam fastball, at best, is an average pitch. He stopped throwing it. He stopped doing the hitters favors. I wonder if there's something like that with Manoah, who may, try and strive to be a strikeout guy. I think that 2-seam fastball is the only weapon he has in his arsenal, and I question if he used it enough so far this season.
Let's deconstruct this.
Okay, yes. I know that was a lot. That was a lot.
You say there's a... And you say, but that there's a lot because you say you look at everything, and it is a little bit everything.
Yes.
So, I don't want to get too philosophical about this.
No, please do.
You're looking at just the results, and if he pitched well, you wouldn't care what was going on upstairs in his head. He's a very emotional guy. I think we can start there at the makeup of the man that's taking them out. So this is a guy who very early in his career had just kind of established himself as somebody who would yell at an umpire or stare down a batter or be kind of that confrontational figure. That's who he's been. He's a first-round draft pick, big boy out of West Virginia. Yeah. I think he's a Florida kid. I think he's a Florida kid who went to West Virginia, was a big prospect. The broader point of that, though, is and I mean this as baseball guys, that personality and makeup shit matters, because then he gets on the mound and you have success right away. You have success through the minor leagues. You have success right away early in the big leagues. And so then are you right? Are you justified?
Right.
In actions off the mound, on the mound, in your preparation? If you were a guy who said, I don't really give a fuck about the scouting report, I got a ++ slider.
Yeah.
And then you went out and had 2 very good big league seasons. Are you going to start looking at scouting reports?
Right, exactly. Yeah. No,
and I'm not saying that's who he is. It's more about these are just general possibilities about the type of character he has or who he can be, because you're looking at a substantial drop-off. So before I would even get to, the quality of the sinker, the location of the slider and stuff, you're talking about a guy who actually, before he even throws a pitch, is kind of more liable or more at risk to have a drop-off, because the success comes so early, and the success came in a way where, I'm just going to overpower you. Not because I overthought, not because I strategize. His mechanics aren't that great. He obviously doesn't take that great care of himself. Mm-hmm. There's so many things going on.
For sure. And I'm glad you brought up the mental aspect of this, because ultimately when I look at the Baseball Savant page and everything is in the single digits, he didn't lose his stuff overnight. This is more psychological. And I think that when we talk about the pitch clock, Hubs alluded to it a little bit. I think that people are saying, oh, it's the conditioning that's killed him. And I'm not saying that hasn't played a factor, but to me, and I think somebody like Lance Lynn has suffered from this as well, these are momentum-based pitchers. Give me the fucking ball. I'm gonna throw it at you, okay? And when I get the ball, I control the pace. Now, as a pitcher, you're on the defensive. The pace controls you. And I think that has had a major psychological impact on the way he goes about his business. And yeah, look, he's always been a very confident pitcher, but the one mistake you can't make in this game is to assume that at some point it's not going to kick you in the ass. I don't care how good of a player you are. At some point, you're going to hit a rough patch. I mean, people forget Justin Verlander lost 17 games his third year in Major League Baseball. We were questioning in 2008, is Verlander still the guy? What's happened here? And he went on to become Justin Verlander. This game...
he was nothing in 2015, 16.
Right, yeah.
There's a part where he completely fell off.
Led the league in earned runs allowed in 2014. Those are you can't live under the assumption that the game's not going to humble you at some point. I think there's a lot that needs to be worked on with him. I love Alek Manoah, for the record. I think he's a very fun pitcher. I love watching him when he's on. But I don't know if these are problems that you can fix this season. If they're in a pennant chase, can you rely on him to come up from the complex league and give you 6 strong?
Well, that's why you send him down to the complex league, because you're out of options.
Yeah.
The big leagues is not a place to develop your talent. You can develop talent when you get to the big play, but that's not what it's there for. It's there to go out and fucking compete and win games.
Yeah.
I say that because it's easy for the Blue Jays to take him off that roster and send him down to the complex league when you're playing in the East and it's competitive as it is, and your roster is as strong as it is. You can't be throwing duds out there, even if it is Alek Manoah, even if the guy was fucking awesome last year, even if he was awesome for the last 10 years. When you come to that realization that all right, this guy is not who he is, he's a shell of himself.
Yeah.
It's the same. I loved what you talked about when you were like, he stopped throwing his two-seam fastball. You said Verlander?
Yeah.
Okay,
it was very interesting stuff. He did an interview with Ron Darling. I recommend everyone go out and watch it. It was fascinating.
Because the idea that is like, sure, you want me to throw a changeup. Now, say we're just saying a different pitch.
Right, yeah.
Like it's a pitcher development thing. So like I go out to the mound, I got a fastball, I got a changeup, a slider, curveball. Now I'm in AAA. Say I struggle with that changeup, right? And like it's okay at AAA. Why in God's name would you go to the big leagues and try and throw
and be throwing that pitch? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that and I think Kevin Gossman talked about this too, where he was like, I didn't have a big league breaking ball. So when I got to the big leagues, I'm throwing AA stuff. It would be no different than if you took me off the mound for that pitch and you brought in a AA guy with a bad curveball and had him throw the curveball.
Yeah.
So why would I be doing that on 001 whatever? It made me like double take about the pitch selection process and what it means to be in the big league. So that's why it's easy to go look at Alek Manoah and be like, dude, go down to the complex league. I just don't know where he can get his confidence back. The only way for this guy to get his confidence back is to go throw 6 innings of one hit ball with 10 strikeouts and be in command. That's really it.
That's the hard part, is the only way out is through. I just don't know if you're the Blue Jays. Like if this, no disrespect to my boys, if this were the Tigers, they'd let it ride this season. The Blue Jays are really playing for something. They're playing some really good baseball lately. I don't think you can afford, unless he does get totally right and they're confident, I don't think you can afford to really, at this point, toss him out there even with a call up and be like, all right, let's go give us 6 strong. I just don't know if it's there.
So I think a lot of the components of what they're going to judge him on are going to be like physical based, metric based, lab based. So like he's going to go lose weight. They're going to put him on a diet. They're going to watch him like a hawk. Like they're probably going to really push him physically to get his body right. Because that's really the only way you can like toughen up the mind is to get the body right.
But do you think that's something that you can get right between June and September? Or is that something that's, you think so? Really?
Big league training staff? Big league athlete, like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's 4 weeks. That's 4-6 weeks for a guy his makeup of really hard training. And maybe it's getting off the mound for a little bit. And, like, people are going to think I'm crazy for this stuff. Maybe it's getting off the mound a little bit, doing some yoga, like doing some.
It works for a lot of guys.
Completely off baseball physical activity for like a couple weeks in Florida. Where you're, still throw and still do your bullpen work and all that stuff, but like take some time to physically get the picture that got sent in our group thread is atrocious. And I don't mean to beat up too much on him physically, but he's being tasked with one of the hardest physical like things you can do. You have to go compete against major league hitters. Like those guys are ready to rip your fucking head off. Yeah. And there's 10,000 other guys that would take your job tomorrow that throw over 90 miles an hour across this world. So to go out there severely disadvantaged when you look at them. I mean, there's big boys and yeah, you can hit and all that shit. Like, bro, you cannot tell me you can go make 30 starts and look like that.
Yeah, and I think the age of that with the pitch clock is going to be dying down. I mean, it's people will have fun with it, and I get it. There's been those kind of breakthroughs, but it's the best pitchers are athletes. I mean, like I think that because they stay in the best shape. They do. I know I always go back to Verlander, and he's a unicorn. Justin Verlander has kept his body in fucking ridiculous shape.
Oh,
he blew his arm out and came back like everyone won a Cy Young at 39. It's like those mechanically and the way you take. I think Kershaw, even with the injuries he's had, does. There's stories about like his conditioning. He's running stairs the day after he throws a no-hitter type shit. Like it is so difficult just to keep your body right at this level, let alone keep your body right and pitch at an elite level.
I feel bad for Manoah, and I think that's the last point I want to make about this.
Yeah. I have one more I'll make that I think will give Blue Jays fans a little bit of hope. This same thing, very similar, happened to one Roy Halladay back in the day, where he just completely lost it. I think they sent him down to it was like A-ball or something. After he was in the major leagues, becomes a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, it's, it can happen. I hope he comes back. Him and Gausman going 1-2 in that rotation with Bassett as well. It would be fantastic. I think he's a fun player. I think the game is better when he's on. You saw it in the All-Star game last year. I'm genuinely rooting for him. He's a fun pitcher to watch when he's on.
Yeah, when he's on, if he was at his level last year, then the Blue Jays are in that same realm as the Rangers knocking on the Rays door. They're just significantly better. They're into the top tier as opposed to a team that's in the mix and has a great lineup. Like when you just take Manoah out for how bad he is now versus how good he can be, God, what a huge drop off. And that's why I feel bad, because you're talking about a guy who, throughout his progression as a baseball player, really doesn't face too much adversity. If you look at his numbers at West Virginia, you can tell, like, all right, he wasn't that ready when he got there, but had flourished and turned into this first rounder. And not like West Virginia's pumping first rounders out, or it's a factory for pitching. It's not, we're not talking about Vanderbilt or Texas or something.
Right.
Like, to kind of like get over that hump, and then to start your professional career and just mow dudes down, and then to be a stud, to be the guy, to be the fucking dog in that rotation.
Opening day starter in his second full year in the league. I mean, you know, he had
so rare.
He had almost nothing of a learning curve too. I remember his first start in Yankee Stadium, he was pumping like 97. Like, who the fuck is this kid? So yeah,
It's the first time he's feeling lonely as a baseball player. Is my point.
Yeah,
and that's a weird. I remember being a junior in college and being like, all right, I'm a closer. We're good. We were ranked, all this shit. And I like blew a save. I blew another save. And the next thing you know, I wasn't the closer anymore. And I'm just sitting in the end of the bullpen. And I don't think I've ever hated myself as much as I did for like that entire baseball season.
It's got to humble you. And that Astros start, especially the last one, was legitimately sad. Like, and I like the Astros, but it's like, that's got to be a lonely feeling when your stuff is either blending together or you're just missing your spots. Oh, and by the way, Yordan Alvarez is coming to the dish.
But it's different. So where it can get different is like if he has good relationships with his teammates too. All right. So now you're letting your guys down. Like, I don't know what his family relationship's with, if he's got a kid, wife, whatever. Like, then the feeling is like, well, fuck, I'm letting the family down. Like, you can be such a competitor and so elite at this where you've like removed yourself from the results, and you're just like, fuck, I'm not good. I'm letting my dad down, my fucking coach. Like, if he's one of those guys, and that's why I started with the emotion, like, if he's willing to chirp at an umpire and fucking stare down another team, then like when you can get to that level, you also have that other end of the spectrum with love and like compassion and having deep, close relationships. So the fact that he's fallen off so hard, so stiffly, can also just like really shut him down, because, you know, did I let my friends down? Do they still look at me the same way? Are my teammates still there for me? And like, now you're not even thinking about the sinker that you're talking about. Like he's so talented, and the slider's so good, and the fastball is so good when he's on, that like it isn't a physical thing. I mean, sure, he's put on weight, but like to repeat that consistently, and where's the snap, where's the action and the vibrance? I think it's just in between his ears.
No, I think so too, and that's why I brought up when everything is wrong. Like, when you're looking at the numbers, the peripherals, I think it goes psychological, and that game wears you down. I wish him the best for him though. I hope he bounces back.
Having Manoah here, I like doing that.
Yeah, no, well, I find it to be a really interesting, just fascinating case with what's going on with him. But yeah, I mean, I guess do you want to talk about deGrom now?
I want to talk about whatever the hell you want.
I want to talk about Jacob deGrom a little bit, because I think that a lot of people had a very strong reaction. For people I guess don't know, Jacob deGrom.
There you go.
Broadcaster Castellani, man. Hitting the post. All right. No,
we're getting better at introducing what we're talking about.
Yes.
I'm horrible at it. I might be the worst host in the history of this shit.
No, it's not. For me, it's beyond hosting, man. I think even my family growing up was like, you need to like establish what you're talking about before you talk about it. Like, people don't know who Jacob deGrom is. I'm like, yeah, okay, but I do.
He's a French painter.
Yes, right. But Jacob deGrom, multi-time Cy Young winner, signed big contract with the Rangers in the offseason. Originally sent to the 60-day IL, then announced he's going to be having Tommy John surgery. Will miss the rest of this year, probably a majority of next year as well. Had a press conference afterwards, tears in his eyes. You could tell the guy was just devastated. And I think that it's very much a crossroads for deGrom in his career, because he's been so injury prone really since, especially since the latter part of 2021, where he got off to that incredible start. Came to Texas. Texas is having an awesome season. And now deGrom, who people forget, like, deGrom is the same age as Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw had, I think, 2 Cy Youngs when deGrom made his debut, but he's not a particularly young guy right now. I guess, I'm not even going to go Hall of Fame, because we've had that discussion kind of in the past with Clemmer. It's just, as a pitcher, what do you think the outlook is for deGrom? Do you still think number 3 starter, 100 innings a year? Does he still have Cy Young stuff, or is it so much dependent on just physically how he bounces back from it.
This is going to be the show that's going to be remembered as like the time everybody found out I'm a huge pussy with pitchers when it comes to injuries, because all I can say is, I mean, like I feel so bad for Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, no, he was.
Like you just see him cry and break down. So like the future of him as a pitcher, fuck. I mean, obviously out this year, obviously will not be at spring training next year. Obviously the not type of guy who will not have those relationships with the guys in the Rangers clubhouse. You're going to ask him to make like minor league rehab starts or throw simulated bullpens with the team, probably starting next. I mean, a year from now, what? It's mid-June. The Rangers are battling with the Astros.
Yeah.
Maybe he's a luxury in the playoffs next year with the hope that you have one more hope that he's going to stay healthy and then he can give you 150 innings 2 years from now.
Yeah.
So this year out, next year playoffs, and then maybe that 2025 season.
It's so devastating. We talk about the psychological impact. I mean, by the time, let's assume that he misses a heavy majority of next year, he'll have made, since the beginning of the 2021 season, 32 starts. I mean,
how many years is it?
We're talking, I mean, under the belief he probably doesn't pitch next year, that'll be a 4-year stretch.
So he would not pitch in the big leagues next year. Like he would pitch maybe in on. You're asking a guy to come back. Like he's not going to come back any faster than what Tommy John is. Like if they say, hey, the soonest a good comeback is 13 months based on the tear and the surgery and the quality of the stuff, like I would say 14 months, and it's Jacob deGrom. Say 15 months. He's not going to come back. It's not going to be one of these situations where he wills himself back like Bryce Harper.
Yes, you have to get yourself right before you get back on the mound. I guess
he's also not going to do steroids.
Right, exactly.
Which I don't say lightly, or I don't even mean it as a joke. Like he's definitely not going to be the type of guy at this point to go put shit in his body so that he could come back and prove something. Like he has, maybe that's the better point, is he has nothing to prove. Yeah,
well, I guess maybe. Yeah, I mean he's made the money, right? But I was thinking about this the other night. I guess going forward, forget the contract, because they like that. We can talk about that forever, and you expect 20, 30 starts out of him. That's not going to happen. I guess which version of Jacob deGrom would be more valuable to the Rangers long term? A guy, because it's a 5-year deal. He'll essentially, assuming he comes back somewhat healthy, will be available for basically 3 of those years. Who's more valuable? A Jacob deGrom that will give you 100 to 140 innings, a solid like mid-3s ERA, or a lockdown reliever? Which version of him would you rather have in Texas?
He ain't gonna be a reliever, pal.
Just
not in a billion years, not in a zillion. Oh God!
Is that
now?
his choice?
Anytime I talk like that, I'm always wrong.
Because I see him.
Is it his choice? Hell, dude, he'll be like, I'm done. I'm retired. Here's the difference it makes. And this isn't about anything other than lifestyle and being old and rich and established and being a Cy Young winner. Okay, when you're a reliever, you have to be ready every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Chris, you ready to go? All right, go down the bullpen, go throw. Yeah. You're wearing your spikes in the dugout. You're in your uniform every single day. Everything about your life changes. This is a guy who flies private ahead of the team. This is a guy who went to the Rangers because the Rangers would accommodate the fact that hey dude, I'm not doing that. That's so big league culture to get to a point where these guys are like, fucking, you can go pick up those balls. I ain't doing that shit. And so I think a lot of pitchers that have had success in Major League Baseball, that's why you can that's why John Smoltz is so cool.
Yes.
Because it's hey,
I
will change my entire life. Where if you're starting every 5 days, dude, the dinner reservations and the golf courses you get to play, in spending time with your family and just being more mentally available because you're only competing once out of those. So those other 4 games, it's dude, you do your prep. If you're good at what you do, you're ready. You keep a fucking chart, maybe sit there, bullshit during the games, have a fucking drink. Seriously, It's a good life. Compared to being a bullpen guy, it's not. It's like being the bullpen sucks comparatively. Every pitcher would rather be. Almost every pitcher would rather start too.
That's hearing you explain that and talk about it, and thinking about other pitchers I've had this idea for in the past. You're right. Because I remember, and again, I like fourth or fifth reference, I remember back in like 2015 when Verlander was struggling, people saying, oh, man, I bet they might just move him to the pen. And I remember saying, Justin Verlander ain't going to the fucking pen. Like, Justin Verlander will be a starter until his arm falls off, and then he'll just retire. Like, I don't think he'll ever. Now, Wade Davis, that's a guy you move to the pen.
Exactly. Right. And Wade Davis's career had no. At that point when he got moved to the pen,
he was a bad starter.
Yeah,
it was a necessity
thing. So you're like,
thing.
whoa, you keep me around? Sure.
Yeah, Zach Britton was like that too, where it's like, do you have the sinker? That's it. Just go to the bullpen and throw sinkers and sliders.
Now, for a lot of pitchers, though, you're only on the mound because you can't be in the field. And Jacob deGrom was a shortstop in college.
Yes.
And if it were up to him, I'm sure he would have played shortstop. I'm sure if you gave Jacob deGrom, a 20-year-old Jacob deGrom, a choice when they drafted him, he'd say, yeah, I'd much rather be a shortstop. I'd much rather go out and play and hit and be into it. A lot of guys move to the mound because they're like, well, if I'm going to have a future, I'm better at this. I'm better at dominating.
Do you remember, I think it was the first 4 or 5 starts of 2021. I think I got it right here. His first 4 starts of 2021. He had allowed 4 runs. 3 of them were unearned, but he'd allowed 4 runs and driven in 5 because that was pre-DH. I mean, just like... It sucks, man. It sucks. And the Hall of Fame argument will be had one day, but it sucks because this guy at his peak, I've never seen stuff like his. It was 102 in the first inning, just blowing it by. It was like, or it's ironic that we brought it up, it was like a reliever emptying the tank every inning. Like, I'm going to throw one inning here. Here's 101, 102, hit it, and then I'll throw a slider at 94 and just doubt the corners. Like, he is such... we talk about it like it's distant, it's in the past. Last year against the Braves, he had a game where he threw 17 sliders, and they were all swung and missed at. Now, at one point, I think might have been Michael Harris homered off of him, but just ridiculous stuff. Like, the game is so much better watching him. Like, even when the Mets were shitty, watching him was amazing. So
there's something about him being skinny and lean and that narrow waist. Yeah. And he was a shortstop for his career. He pitched at Stetson. And then
took Chris Sale deep.
Yeah, that's a great highlight.
Yeah.
But as he matured on the mound, like a lot of those shortstop actions are still there when you see him pitch. That quick arm, that smooth delivery. Like you look at that guy and you can see, oh, that's a converted.
Tremendous fielding pitcher as well. I mean, just a great athlete. Yeah, you could tell. So
great athlete.
Yeah, I mean, what the weirdest part about all this is how, and I don't mean for this to sound mean, is how little it's impacted the Texas Rangers. They're on a 107 win pace with. Like, if you would have told me deGrom was going to give them 6 starts this year, I'd have said they're fucked. They're not, like, they are still very much in this race now. For whatever reason, John Gray and Nathan Eovaldi have turned into fucking Maddox and Smoltz for the night. I mean, they just aren't giving up runs right now. John Gray threw a 9-inning complete game last night and lost. He struck out 12.
Yeah, that was a 1-0 game. By the way, Rangers Rays this weekend. Red Sox Yankees, Rangers Rays this weekend.
Is that the series of the year so far?
Oh, absolutely.
It's got to be, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll have to check the pitching matchups for that as well.
Almost had to hit the swear jar there. No, that's absolutely the series of the year. And the Rangers just keep doing it. Watch them play the other day against the Cardinals. Matt Liberatore's pitching. And just, they all look the same. All these righties. I shouldn't say it like that, but there's the thunder that they have at the top of the lineup. And they just bring one big bat to the other. It's just like, here's a big righty. Here's a big lefty. Here's a big righty. Here's a big lefty. I said this before when I saw him play against the Cubs, that they struck me as a very physical team. The size of these players, and it's like that's pretty unique because typically, there's 5'10" guys playing second base, and no, everybody on that field for the Rangers, like Adolis Garcia in center field, looks like a strong safety.
He really does. He's got like a linebacker build, man. Yeah, I know.
I want to make this other point though. Like Bochy, when he was with San Francisco, had made his career losing pitchers. Like, oh, here's Matt Cain. Never mind. Threw him 200 innings 3 years in a row. He's done.
Yeah. Like, Lincecum prime example.
Like, never mind. Like, here's Barry Zito. He's going to be out. No, never mind. He's going to the bullpen. Like, he just basically takes guys that are considered aces for a very brief period of time and then figures out a way to move on from them.
But it's worked for him. Like those 2010s Giants teams all of those pitchers had like kind of tragic career endings, but they won championships in San Francisco.
Yeah, he was like whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
like in each of those championships, like they didn't have their guy going. Like I'll go back and look, but keep talking about.
Well,
them.
no, it's just funny where it's like Kane's sad ending. Like Kane was phenomenal for a few years and fell off. Lincecum, remember Lincecum with the Angels? Like it got ugly. Mad Bum, like nobody wants him right now since he got released. But all of them, when it mattered, were excellent. Like fucking Ryan Vogelsong out of nowhere had a few good years for them. Like, yeah, no, that was a very interesting run. Quick sidebar about Bruce Bochy. For maybe even a little gambling advice. Bruce Bochy has not won Manager of the Year since 1996. I feel like that's a pretty good bet. He's going to find they're going to find a way to give it to him this year. He's well liked.
Let's see.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He's won it in the National League. Has not won it in the American League. Now he hasn't had the chances he's managed.
When do they give that award? After or before the postseason?
It's a regular season award, so it's voted on after the regular season. If they do what the Mets did last year, even if they don't win the division, they're gonna give it to him.
Why?
Well, I mean,
why wouldn't Kevin Cash get it if they break the win record?
Okay, if they break the wins record, sure. But I think it's often given to the team that the Manager of the Year is often given to the manager whose team exceeds expectations the most. The Rays have been to the playoffs the last 3 years, including a World Series. The Rangers lost 94 games last year.
Makes you think, is Manager of the Year a sham award now?
It's more of a symbolic award than anything. Like it's given to the team that had the highest improvement from the previous year. Usually, there's a few exceptions, but it's usually the team that exceeded expectations.
Why doesn't Manager of the Year go to the guy who had to slug through 100 losses with a shitty roster? Like David Ross should get a Manager of the Year award.
Let's give it to Mark Kotsay.
In 2021. Yeah. They were Mark Kotsay. Mark Kotsay should get Manager of the Year. Dude, you're walking around for the A's just taking a beating. Just getting booed by fans. The ones that do show up hate your guts.
That has to be the worst position because
he's a baseball guy. He's a Fullerton kid. He's not.
We will never know until he leaves Oakland if Mark Kotsay is a good baseball manager or not.
Yeah, that would be so that's my official position on Manager of the Year. I want it to go to different guy. Fucking give it to Mark Kotsay right now.
You should give it to fucking AJ Hinch, who's right now. AJ Hinch has pinch hit more batters than anybody in baseball, and he's using like Tyler Nevin off the bench.
Let's start measuring that.
Yeah.
Trips out of the dugout. How many times you got to change a lineup card? All right, so officially, firmly, stance is through 12 weeks we like AJ Hinch.
Oh, for sure.
No, a lot. I mean, 12 weeks of this season. I know he was with you guys last year, but like right now at this point.
My opinion of him has not changed.
1 through 10 pizza scale.
7.5.
Okay.
Because I have had some issues with lineup construction, but every time I do, I'm like, well, how else would you arrange it? Like, I mean, you're
Do you think he has final say in the lineup?
I think he has less say than he did the previous 2 years. I think that...
you know what Scott Harris's job with the Cubs was?
What was it?
One of his jobs was to go down and give Joe Madden the lineup card from the front office.
It would not surprise me because there's been, the way that we've played the matchups this year, and we've tried. I mean, I give AJ and Scott Harris a lot of credit. They're trying to win games, man. This roster's just so poor. We pinch hit multiple guys by like the 5th inning. Like the righties out of the game. Okay, lefty bats, you're done. Bring in all the righties. Like they have been like religious with their doing that. So,
but you're saying historically the Tigers wouldn't do that? No, even when the Cubs were bad under Theo, they were always doing matchups and fucking bringing in new guys.
Not when Avila was here now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're like Tigers fans are just getting a taste of forward-thinking baseball.
Yes.
Where I'm trying to relate and say Cubs fans didn't get that till 2012, 13 when Theo's front office had been put in. But then a Red Sox fan would say we've been doing it since 2004, and an A's fan would say we've been doing it since the late 90s, and an Orioles fan would say we did it in the 70s with Earl Weaver.
Right, exactly. The early days.
And then stopped doing it.
Then we stopped doing it for 30 years. I think I think that's definitely fair. I mean, look, here's a prime example of and I don't even think they've done anything revolutionary, but here's a prime example of the new kind of forward thinking for the Tigers. Jackson Jobe and Jace Young, the last 2 first-round picks for Detroit, were asked, what's different about the environment in the minor leagues here with the new administration versus last year. They went, we know what to eat now. We have nutritionists. We didn't have nutritionists in the clubhouse last year, which is like, okay, first of all, if you're a baseball, why did you wait? But still, that's like a prime example of kind of just the beginning of the new way of thinking that they're trying to get, because injuries have been such a huge problem here. They're trying to keep their players right, and they got a lot of catch up to do.
Yeah. Investing in the minor league system like that, and the infrastructure, it's crazy that that's like still a newer idea that nutrition matters. I mean, dude, the stories of guys eating like peanut butter sandwiches and just getting like,
and I'm sure those guys, people still do in that clubhouse. It's just, they're keeping it a little bit more fair.
But I'm trying to figure out the right way to explain this without sounding. There's a positive thing about making these guys struggle horrifically for years. There's a super positive benefit if you're an owner or a GM where you have a class of minor league players that are not top draft picks, that do not have skill sets or talent at the right ages, at 23, 24, when they can start penetrating major league rosters. So what you do is you throw them into awful set of circumstances and you let them figure it out. And you're like, all right, no resources. There's a fucking tee out there in the net, and a net, go hit into a net. Or, you have everybody's on a 10-hour bus ride. Now, the point of that is, sure, you're saving money and it's cheap and it's easy to go get these guys to go out and play reps and like Tulsa to Oklahoma City. And the general idea, though, for the guys who have played and been there and have led teams is that, dude, you struggle and grind now, because if you fucking think that riding on a bus is hard, wait till you're 0 for 23 in a slump. Randy Johnson's going. We're a game back. It's mid-September. You're our starting second baseman, and this game fucking matters, dude. Like, so you can't be showing up to the ballpark. Oh, man. Like, we're going to put you through these types of experiences so that every day when you're in the big leagues, you're like, this is why I'm a big leaguer. I'm a big leaguer because I went through all that shit. And now, again, I'm not talking about top-class players like Ken Griffey Jr. and the fucking Justin Verlanders of the world. I'm talking about guys like Sean Casey. Yeah. Brandon.
Former Tiger.
Like, I mean, sure, Brandon Inge was probably a good draft pick, but
not really. I mean, he was on
a 5'11" catcher who moves to third base, who whatever. But the guy ended up playing 12 years in the big leagues. Like, he's a good athlete. Was he the best baseball player in the minors or on any of those teams he was on? I mean, come on. Dude.
Well, the entire 2006 Tigers roster was like that. There were a few veterans like Kenny Rogers, but it was an entire lineup of guys who'd gotten fucking destroyed by the previous few years. I mean, a lot of those guys were 3 years removed from 119 losses. Like, it's and I'm with you about that, and I feel that way because I get fucking tweets and DMs all the time being like, why don't the Tigers send this guy down or this guy down? I'm like, because they're major league players. They're just not very good ones right now. Like, I would rather have, there's a prime example, like Nick Maton for the Tigers, just cannot hit a breaking ball. Like, he's batting 160, but when he hits for power. A few days ago, he's facing Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola had a no-hitter going. He gets 6 straight curveballs, finally puts one into right field seats for a 3-run home run. Now, he might not do that again for another month, but I would rather he go through the struggles here as a player who is in his mid-20s than, give him the chance to light it up in AAA. I think Jared Kelenic really benefited from that. Well, like, this year they said, look, we're not going to do this back and forth shit. Either you find it here or you're not going to find it at all. Right. And he came up right away this year, and he started tearing the cover off the ball. So it was great.
23, too.
Yeah, I know. It's so weird how quickly we are to give up on these guys. He could be playing
in the College World Series.
Yeah.
Like, he could have been, he could still have a year of eligibility left with COVID if he went to.
That's a good point. I forgot about that.
The Twins are still in first place, though. So let's talk a little bit about the Central.
We could call this the throw your hands up segment. And I'll ask you, who's winning this division?
The Guardians.
You think so?
Tristan McKenzie's back. Looks fucking good.
He does. Well, no, here's what they're going to do, though, because I know how they work. And they
just got rid of Plesac.
They're going to ship Bieber at the deadline, and they're going to get back pieces that it's going to be some average pitcher who they're going to turn into a stud, some position player who's going to be really good for them. They are even almost raised territory in terms of selling high with their pitchers. They won. They got success in the Bauer deal. They got success in the Clevenger deal. They've been Kluber's the prime. Kluber didn't pitch a single inning, I don't think, for the Rangers, and they got Emmanuel Clase. I could see them doing something similar and still winning the division this year. I mean, the Tigers are a bad team. They have a minus 70 run differential right now. They are 3.5 games back of the Minnesota Twins. So I'm kind of with you. Like, the Twins have had, and they're 62 games in, just infinite chances to finish this thing in
No,
May.
the Twins are everything that we've said they are. A team that should warrant very limited respect from anyone who knows anything about baseball.
Oh, and guess what? They're playing at Tampa Bay right now and got walked off last night. Like, it's not going to get any better. So I'm kind of with you. I think it is becoming more of a shit show than I expected, because I did expect we would get one team, much like the Guardians last year, who gets hot in the summer, and we still might have that. But even if they do, like, Cleveland's 5 games under 500. Minnesota is 500. It's as bizarre a division. You have every team outside of one that has a negative run differential. And yet a lot of teams, like the White Sox, are 4 games back. The White Sox are, I think, 20-14 over the last 34.
White Sox could be good.
They should be. They should be the best team in this division.
Yeah, but that's been the story told about this team for a long time, and what they lack is fundamental to having a good baseball team.
Yeah,
and they just don't. They don't play together. They don't care about each other. There isn't a spark when they show up to the field. And when you have such high levels of talent and parity across the place, those little things matter. Those little things is showing up and being ready to take somebody's fucking head off.
Yeah.
Like when the Astros show up to play you and you see the bounce that they have when they take the infield, and like the aura
is
they're
real.
Bouncier. They show up like that mentally. All these guys are athletically gifted. It is so hard to draw lines between this guy is so much more talented than that guy. Collectively, the league is 3 levels above AAA.
For sure.
It is AAA to rookie ball is AAA to the big leagues. And I'll stand behind. I don't find a big leaguer that'll say differently. Maybe single A. But my broader point is that those little things matter. If we were talking about golf and you say, okay, everybody hits the ball 300 yards. Everybody knows how to hit a 6-iron. What do they say? Who can make the 15-foot putt and who can stay focused when they hit a bad shot? And then you start drilling into these really smaller level, he's the best when it comes to flopping. He's the best at hitting the short. So with baseball players, I don't think it's much different to say, like, really the difference maker for this is, do you want to be great?
Yeah.
Do you want to be fucking great? If you want to be great, you're going to do things. You're going to have to put in fucking 95% to get that extra 5%. It's like losing weight or getting the guys that have, the guys that like lose all the weight and get the 6-pack and all that stuff. People lose weight and then they get to the last, and they're like, dude, losing the last 5 pounds was way harder than losing the first 20 pounds or first 30 pounds or whatever the fuck that relation is. I think is the same thing to being a great baseball team. Yeah. To get over the hump from being average, and this is what I'm talking about the Twins. When you watch the Twins play, dude, they've got great starting pitching.
Yes.
Great starting pitching.
Sonny Gray's been a revelation, man.
But they don't have something that just they don't push over. They just don't.
They don't scare you.
Push over the top. The 2016 Cubs, they had that. When they showed up, they wanted to rip your fucking head off. As soon as they won a championship, they're out having cocktails, having a good time around town.
But there was a different vibe. Or even, I would say it started probably in the latter part of 15, but from day 1 in 16, when you just shit pump the Angels, you're like, they're different. Like, you could just tell there's an aura to them. Now, what is interesting about the White Sox, though, we talked, as early as like 2 weeks into the season, what a potential deadline could look like for them. Long term, is it better for them to continue losing because then you can dump some assets? Or
who's drafting for them? They picked at the top of the draft. They picked Nick Madrigal. They picked at the top of the draft.
True.
Andrew Vaughn.
There's kind of a Vaughn's all right.
They picked at the top of the draft. They took Garrett Crochet, 14th overall. That's how cocky they were. That they were like, oh, we'll take a lefty that throws 100. We can put in our bullpen tomorrow because we need
and they pitched him like a month later. Yeah.
Oh, guess who had Tommy John?
Right. Yeah. No,
it's just bad. They're bad. They're bad at that. So that's why I would be hesitant to slump, because where's the rest of the
Because then you could look back on that deadline and say, we got nothing back type of shit.
Kopech came from a trade. Dylan Cease came from a trade.
Good point. Giolito came from a trade.
Lance Lynn came from a trade.
Moncada. Yeah.
Like their homegrown players are Andrew Vaughn, Tim Anderson.
Is Berger a homegrown guy?
Yeah, Berger's good.
Yeah.
Poor guy tore his Achilles twice. Every time you see Jake Berger run the bases, dude, Jake Berger, I think, registers, check this on StatCast, I think he's the third or fourth fastest White Sox this year by average sprint speed around the bases. He's like higher than Yohan Moncada, and Yohan Moncada has a speed to steal 40 packs.
Let me check this. Okay, Jake
So
Berger.
that's like the perfect example of when I'm trying to make this point here that like, yeah, sure, give me the StatCast data, whatever the fuck, I don't care. I'm telling you.
He is. You're right, dude. He's 77 percentile in sprint speed. I would not have expected that.
Boy's hauling ass.
Yeah,
but like Jake Berger's hauling ass because he has to.
Yeah, right.
Like Ozzy had a good clip about this. Like, yeah, dude, if he wasn't running hard, his ass he'd be in the Mexican leagues.
Yeah.
So then here's a question: is it team or a manager, or front office, owner? How do you get your guys like Jake Berger? Traditionally, his sprint speed. Let's just say he's an average runner.
Yeah.
That's because like that average sprint speed, like when you hit a ground ball to shortstop, they're measuring you. When you hit a fly ball, they're measuring you. When you pop out to the catcher, they're measuring you. So he's just busting it. The whole time they're measuring him, he's busting his fucking ass. That's why it's not that he's a great runner. It's just that he's always busting his ass. How do you get your guys to do that? How do you get Riley? I'm not saying Riley Green does or doesn't. How do you get Torkelson to be a guy? Or the only way you can't do it is if you don't have to do it. Like that line Dave Kingman was saying. I brought this up on the power rankings. Like, you're not paying me to slide. You can do that in baseball if you're good enough.
Yeah.
Like, if you are a superstar, Miguel Cabrera at his height when he was, competing for Triple Crowns every year.
Oh, dude, Miggy loved. I mean, I never gave a shit. Like, fucking waddle to first. I don't care. You hit nukes. He loved doing that, and he loved, even when he was like winning MVPs, running through stop signs rounding third base. He got away with it, right? Because he's fucking Triple Crown winner. But even I remember being in high school, being like, that shit ain't cute. It lost a playoff game because of it. Like,
but how to get into that guy's mind for him to respect you is not going to happen. You're not, as a manager, maybe Leland could do it, but I mean, if he's doing that shit, Jim Leland's calling the shots, bro. What, like, good luck.
Yeah.
Because there's some capacity of if I'm the only one who's hitting 350, then who are you to tell me I'm I know what's going on because I'm the one hitting 350. Like, right. I know much more than you.
And Leland kind of implied that in an interview afterwards, where he's like, "Well, him and Barry Bonds are the two best players I ever managed. I tried." And there's famous clips on the internet of this. I tried honing in, like, and being critical of Bonds, and I just got to a point where I can't fucking do it. Like, it's like this
What's
guy's
the benefit?
This guy exactly. This guy's so talented. Like, that's a 1% thing he does. I'm willing to put up with it because he's going to put up an OPS over 1,000 every year. Yeah.
But then this brings us to there's a romantic element when a team does this stuff really well. When teams got bounce and guys run
2015 Royals always stands out to me, where it's like
they got a good mix of superstars, and the superstar's not an asshole.
Right? Yeah.
That's why. That's one of the most amazing. Like whether the greater you are at something, and so in this case, obviously baseball. Like the better the baseball player, the more stunned people are, or the more they value you being regular, normal. Like, oh, he's the nicest guy. He's a regular Joe. Like Anthony Rizzo. It's like, this guy hits 35 homers a year. He's a leader of the Cubs. He's a regular, down-to-earth guy. You wouldn't believe it. And the reason we wouldn't believe it is because the whole culture is once you're a superstar, you're an asshole.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a fair amount that changed. I mean, that'd be a fine, interesting like topic of who was kind of wet behind the ears and then they hit it big and just personality change, game change. I mean, I feel that way with Javi right now. Like, I feel like when Javi got his bag from us, because I saw him in Chicago, he was an electric player. There was a lot of air let out of that balloon that made him so much fun as a ball player.
I think he's so much of a performer that, like, when he went out to Wrigley for those day games, it was like a stage to act on. Man,
God, so like if Comerica
could put people in and like Javi, and you guys like we were all in on him. Like he came up, he starts making all his plays. So you're just infatuated and fascinated. So he's popping around the field like, hey, Javi, all stuff. But if you're in front of 10,000 and you're playing a 6:00 Wednesday game against the Twins, and it's kind of, and it's damp, and no one really gives a shit. Like, where does that pop and hustle come from? Well, dude, if you okay, let me ask you this.
What's up?
If you're doing one of your late night Instagram streams, and there's a couple hundred people in there, and shit's popping off and stuff, you feel great.
Yes, no, for sure.
Bro, if there's 15 people in there and someone says one mean thing and they're just like, dude, this sucks. What are you doing? I know that feeling. You're sitting there like, oh, man, why am I fucking doing
right,
this?
Yeah. No, I mean, for sure, I think he's a front runner. And that's why, like, and I don't think it'll happen. If he were to find his way onto another team, I bet he'd play well. Like, I think that he's just a player when the lights are bright, when the team is good, when you're in the middle of a pennant chase. Dude, I'll take him. I like bat him sixth. Like, he can do electric things because he's an exceptionally talented player. it always goes back to bias with me. Does I feel like every podcast I do, I end up talking about it. But it's just I find him very fascinating because he's paid to be the guy, and I don't think he wants to be the guy. I think he wants to be the entertainer.
He wants other guys around him.
Yes.
He wants everybody to be.
For example,
like
Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, he'll look at other players and be like, "Why are you not good?
Yeah.
Why aren't you? You should be better."
Yeah.
All right, let's stay off the Tigers then.
Yeah.
We have a couple. Let's just spend. I'm gonna go west and east.
Okay.
We're in the west though. Man, it's nice weather out here. What do you want to talk about, Chris?
Are the Mariners dead?
Don't want to talk about them. No. That's why I don't. I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's nothing about them pops, man.
I've been waiting all year.
Julio's got to carry him, and they asked a 22, 23-year-old to just be that it. Like, so if he's not, and he isn't it right now. I mean, he's good. He's very good, but last year he hit for a 148 OPS plus while providing Gold Glove defense in center field. So right now he's still a good center fielder. I think he's got a 105 OPS plus, 110, something like that. I mean, there's a difference right there. There's 3 games.
Yeah,
Ty
offensively
France
they've been subpar.
Last year Ty France was an all-star candidate.
Yeah.
This year he's slightly above average or below average or around that average conversation. So Mitch Haniger's not on the roster. I've been mad about that for a while.
Yeah.
They can't get any production at third base. The best J.P. Crawford will ever be is like pretty good.
Yeah, I know he's a so-so, like, serviceable shortstop. No, you're right. Look, they've been underwhelming offensively. I just thought with that rotation being what it is, because I love Luis Castillo and Kirby and Gilbert. I think Kirby and Gilbert are still pretty raw, but God, their stuff is...
Rotations matter more later in the year. Like, right now, it's just about putting up runs.
And that's the point I was about to make is I think... No, sorry, I love it. No, you set me up for it. I love it. Which is that I think they play in a division where they're loaded full of good lineups. Like, as good as Kirby and Castillo and Gilbert are, like, fucking Rangers, I don't care if you're, like, one of the best pitchers in the world. The Rangers lineup is a buzzsaw. The Astros lineup could be a buzzsaw. And I don't know. They've been getting pummeled lately. I still believe in the long-term future there, but I think we're going to look at this year as that step-back year for them, really, right now.
And that was kind of a nerve thing because, if you believe in World Series hangovers, then you believe in the concept of a team achieving a lot, being satisfied, and struggling the next season to put their foot on the gas and capture that same magic that allowed them to be so good the year before.
For sure, yeah.
So Mariners, they had a great playoff series. The Astros, they lost.
Yeah, they got swept. It was a close series, but
you almost beat them, and you
beat the Blue Jays in the wild card round. Yeah,
that was a wild game. You got to have a home playoff game.
Yeah.
I said it at the start of the season. I was like, I think there could be a hangover in Seattle, and they come out flat. And I got crushed by Mariners fans for it. But my point was, the magic isn't there all the time.
They got crazy hot last year.
I've learned this in this job, and this is a very serious point I'm about to make. I did not know this about like baseball fans until I started doing the national show. Because as a Cubs guy doing Cubs shows and stuff, you're just talking Cubs fans. It's just in the mode. This guy sucks. That guy sucks. If your team is considered good, and let's say there's 15 teams in baseball that can be good. Like we talked, there's the 9 in our power rankings, and then there's another 5, 6, 7 that are underperforming, but like could be very good. All those fans expect the bullpen to like never blow a fucking game.
Right.
They expect if you come off the bench and pinch hit for a starter or something, they expect you to be ready and be great. If you are a platoon player, they expect you to hit really well in your platoon role.
Right.
The expectation of fan that like the players go out and do well every single game. I did this too. Like when you watch the bullpen, you're like, even the 5th or 6th guy in the bullpen, you're like, oh, this guy sucks. We got to get good bullpen help. Right. Like, where do you think it is? Most teams have like 2 relievers they can rely on. Most teams have like 2 guys who are like, oh, thank God he's fucking in. Right. Everybody else is looking at their relievers being like, fuck, this guy again? What's the manager doing? Why are they bringing this guy in? How come it's like, dude, there's only a limit of how many good players there are. They're just not that. Some pitchers just aren't that good. Some relievers just fucking suck.
I'm not saying bullpen management isn't a thing because it is, and we've seen managers like use it to perfection in the past. At the same time, so much of the criticism about poor bullpen management has to do with the caliber of pitcher as opposed to whether or not they use them. Like last year, Dusty Baker looked like a genius because he was going from 6 innings of whatever starter to Abreu to Montero to Presley. Oh, and by the way, you could throw in Ryan Stanek in there, who had the lowest ERA among qualified relievers, and Hector Neris. Like, you look pretty smart when your bullpen's putting up a 0.58 ERA. Had those guys have blown it, it would have been, that's archaic. Your 7th, 8th inning rolls. You knew that was going to kill them. Like, so much of bullpen management, I feel like, is based on just what you have in your bullpen. It's great when it works.
I don't want to get too preachy, but I like sharing these observations because they're revelations for me. Like as I'm interacting with people and they're complaining about, this guy fucking Braves fans, man, guys suck or they're awesome. They just live on this spectrum. I know this is the American League show, but just as baseball fans, like try not to live on these spectrums of like this guy's awesome and this guy sucks. Like most of these guys are just like shades slightly better, a little bit worse. Most of them are right in the middle, and one's having a little bit better day, and the other one is having a little bit worse day, and they play every single day. This is a good romantic episode. Let's go out to the East. We have a huge. We're going to finish here.
Yeah.
Huge series this weekend. 2 huge series this weekend. The Rays play the Rangers.
Yes.
And in our power ranking show, we did talk about maybe the Rangers are better than the Rays. And I saw in some mainstream publications, they put the Rays behind the Rangers in some rankings. Some people try to get ahead of it already. The Rays are fucking dominating this week. They're up to, I think they're 45-17 now.
They're at a 114 win pace right now. At 114 win pace, having been in the last month just like good. You know what? Like they haven't. They weren't gonna keep up a 24-6 pace that they were on. But yeah, I mean, and with just an insane amount of pitching injuries too. Like they just keep rolling. So I'm very intrigued by that series, man. That should be a ton of fun. It's the 2 best teams, maybe in baseball right now. I mean, the Dodgers might be giving some people a run. I don't know. They are the 2 best. Lost to the Reds last night. So yeah,
you don't have to set that one up with any type of like maybe. No, absolutely, Chris.
It's one of those mid-season series that I guarantee at the end of it, I'm going to go, everybody else fucking clear out. Let's just get these teams in the ALCS. Like,
I'm with you 100%.
I remember feeling that way last year.
Fast forward right now to that, and I'm going to get killed because I had already said, like, I like the I think the Yankees every year should have a Game 5 ALDS in Yankee Stadium.
Really, every
year, if we could just fast forward that and just put the Yankees there, they have to be good. They have to win 90-plus games. And if the Yankees win 90-plus games, like, they're allowed to host an ALDS just because the playoff games at Yankee Stadium are the best. They are it's some of the best sports in sports.
Yeah, and I think now at the same time I've been wrong. Last year I was adamant in the National League, the Mets and Dodgers were like destined to play each other. I loved watching those series. Mm-hmm. So I could be wrong, but right now it's just exciting to watch the 2 best teams in baseball, well, relatively healthy, at a high level, going up against each other. It should be the series of the year so far.
It would be fun if we implemented a little bit of that, like soccer stuff where they just have like a casual tournament in the middle of the season. What about mid-season? Just like a mid-season round robin.
I was thinking about that too, just a little
then the champions get like a week off.
Yeah. Would they want it though? I mean, there's that whole rest versus rust.
Every single guy, if it didn't impact their pay, every single guy on the roster would take it.
I guess in the regular season for sure. Yeah. I guess that
every single player.
There's that long argument of if you have X amount of days off in between a playoff series, but regular season just to get right. Yeah.
Who is a player that would not take the week off?
Oh no, they'd all take it. I'm
saying. Let's. Who's the type of guy in baseball right now that's like, I'm not a week off.
Oh man,
take a week off baseball?
Fuck.
I want to play baseball.
I feel like there's an obvious answer that like
who?
I don't know, but I feel like there is one.
Hunter Pence, he's retired. He wouldn't take a week off.
Tommy Pham.
Tommy Pham would just be sitting in the parking lot like, right. Where's everybody?
Let's go.
I shouldn't say that. Tommy Pham. Actually, you know what? I can't say that. Why do I?
I think there's enough evidence with Pham. A good player, but yeah. One player who I feel like when he played totally exemplified that type of mentality, Ian Kinsler. Ian Kinsler was just that. Are you not a fan?
I mean, I like Ian Kinsler because I can just see him like doing bong hits before, like in the 3rd inning, like running into a clubhouse and just like taking a bubbler out of the.
It's possible, but he was fucking good, and he would play every day for us.
Those Ron Washington Texas Rangers teams were amazing. Adrian Beltre at third base, Andrus at short, Kinsler, Moreland,
Josh Hamilton,
animals.
Yeah,
animals. Salta Lamacchia.
I love Salty. Salty was fun in Detroit, man. Yeah. And you had
great Jerry curl. Real great wet hair from Salty.
Yeah. Phenomenal name. Yeah, he did. He could mash,
okay, he won a World Series with the Red Sox. We're going to end with Red Sox Yankees quickly.
Good transition.
How about that?
We're getting better. I'm telling. We're getting better with it.
How about that? I care a little bit. I care a little bit that the Yankees and the Red Sox are playing. I care more than I cared last year.
Yes.
I cared more than I cared 2 years ago. I don't think I'll care like as much as we ever can about Yankees Red Sox again. We and I, we got it so good.
Oh, yeah.
We got so many good Red Sox Yankees moments in our lives.
Dude, I would say this was started really when I started to get into baseball. The early 2000s into mid 2000s Yankees Red Sox rivalry is like, if we're talking just a period of time, maybe the greatest rivalry in sports.
Best.
It was the best in sports at the time. Maybe like the best ever. Like legitimately.
No, I would say the best ever.
Yeah, because nowadays, like even if there's the bench is clear, teams don't really hate each other anymore. There might be one or two exceptions. Those teams despised one another. They went about the one team stood for all the things the other team hated. You had this loose. They called themselves the idiots. Fucking, eating fucking chicken wings, drinking beer in the clubhouse. And then you had the Steinbrenner era, no fucking facial hair. There's the Yankee way of going about things. And the fact that they were both winning championships or close to winning championships at the same time. Benches would clear like every fucking series they played. It was awesome. Awesome stuff.
Decades from now, a century from now, when people reflect, when baseball historians look back on this era, that's going to be the thing. They're going to be like, dude, could you imagine being there for that? That to me
For sure.
is exactly what you just said. The Kevin Millars and the John Lesters and like
Johnny Damon's.
Just total guys.
Yeah.
Baseball guys. Fuck you.
Yeah, no, it was, and the way they did it. Well, there was a story recently where after they fell behind 3-0 in that 04 series, I think it might have been Mankiewicz, I could be wrong, went to have beers with David Ortiz, and they were up till like 7 o'clock in the morning. And he was like, dude, we got to play a game tonight. And he goes, that's fine. We got to do this our way. We've been trying to do this in this postseason like the normal way. We got to do this the Red Sox way and just say, at least if we lose, we went out doing it the way that we, going about our business the way we always have. So, yeah, I mean, I can't think of any rivalry in sports that resulted in a senior citizen getting assaulted at a fucking public forum. Which obviously, like, you're glad he's okay. What a fucking insane moment. That has to be in the top 5 of moments I wish Twitter was around for. Just the reaction to that shit would have been insane.
But we can get there. We can work our way there. I've got faith in Volpe. I've got faith that Volpe can get us back to the rivalry. We will be live streaming a power ranking show before that.
Yes.
Before the game on Sunday. So we will be promoting that. We're going to put we're going to do it live. We're still going to post it to the feed. But we're going to do like a little pregame Yankees Red Sox stream. Get us going. I don't think we're going to stream the whole game. Clemmer and I decided on Wednesday we're not going to stream the full game.
Okay.
We're going to do lead in. Because he was like, oh yeah, a couple hours? I was like, 4? Go listen to the part of the show. It's funny. We were thrown off. What we agreed upon was this Sunday, I think 5. We'll figure it out. Just stay tuned for that.
Yeah, for sure. We'll play it by ear.
Parting thoughts.
Good show.
I like talking baseball with you, Chris.
I like talking baseball with you, Carl.
I raw dog this show, guys. I want you to know that.
And I would say
not a single, not a computer, not a statistic. No, I did look up the 2010 Giants pitching staff.
That's hey, you got. I mean, you're still way ahead of me. I mean, I have 12 tabs open right now. I got analyzing Alek Manoah's fastball. So
yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm in the office, Carl. Come on.
This is Barstool Baseball. Go subscribe to our stuff. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. Until next time, we'll catch you guys soon.
Love it.